The room goes silent when my wife, Alice, stands up during the wedding toasts, champagne glass raised, her smile looking like she practiced it in a mirror. 40 guests turn their attention to her. My son Jace looks proud. His new bride Sophia looks confused. And I sit perfectly still because I know what's coming. "I have an announcement," Alice says, her voice steady and clear. "Andrew and I are done. I'm leaving him. I found someone who actually sees me." The gasps spread across the room. Jace's face goes white. My brother leans forward like he didn't hear her right. Alice's sister covers her mouth with her hand, her eyes wide. I didn't flinch or act surprised. Instead, I stood up slowly, pulled a small remote from my jacket pocket, and looked directly at the projection screen behind the DJ booth. The same screen Alice insisted we rent for special wedding moments. "Before you finish, Alice," I said, keeping my voice calm, "I think everyone should see the gift I prepared." Her smile drops, just for a second. But that second tells me everything. Before that, let me tell you what led to this moment. My name is Andrew, and I'm a financial analyst. I spot mistakes for a living. Wrong numbers, fake invoices, charges that shouldn't be there. Companies pay me to find the money they're losing without knowing it. So when a $287 hotel charge showed up on our joint credit card on a Wednesday afternoon, I caught it right away. I asked Alice about it that night while she was making dinner. "What's this Riverside Inn charge?" She didn't even look up, just rolled her eyes and kept cutting. "Meeting went long. I needed a quiet place to work. Don't start, Andrew." Not an answer. A shutdown. That phrase, "don't start," bothered me more than anything else. Because she wasn't explaining. She was telling me to back off. Like I didn't have the right to ask about our money. Like I was wrong for noticing a hotel bill in the middle of a Wednesday, in a town 40 minutes away. I dropped it that night. Told myself I was reading too much into it. Alice ran her own consulting business. Maybe she really did need quiet space. Maybe I was just being suspicious for no reason. But that charge stuck in my head, because it was a Wednesday. And Alice told me she'd be home all day working upstairs in the office. 2 weeks later, Alice started taking showers at weird times. Not morning showers before work. Not evening showers after going to the gym. Middle of the afternoon showers. On days she said she was home working, she'd walk downstairs with wet hair, smelling like our expensive lavender soap, and her phone would buzz on the counter. She'd look at it, give a tiny smile, not a big one, just barely there, then flip it face down. The second I walked in, the smile vanished. I'm not a jealous guy. Never have been. But I also don't ignore things when they stop adding up. Alice and I had been married for 28 years. I knew her habits. I knew her patterns. And this version of Alice, keeping secrets, acting cold in small, careful ways, only being nice when other people could see, this wasn't wedding stress. 3 weeks before Jace's wedding, my son called me on a Tuesday night. I was in the garage pretending to organize tools, just trying to avoid Alice. "Dad, hey, you got a minute?" "Yeah, of course. What's going on?" Silence. Then, "Mom said you've been angry lately. Really stressed, yelling at her. Are you doing okay?" I hadn't been angry. I'd been quiet. Pulling back, maybe, because I was trying to figure out what was happening without accusing my wife of something I couldn't prove yet. But Alice was already changing how Jace saw me. She was turning me into someone I wasn't. Angry, unstable, hard to deal with. So when whatever she was planning went down, Jace would already believe her side of things. "I'm good, son," I said, keeping my voice even. "Just busy at work. Don't worry about me. Focus on your wedding. This is your moment." "Okay, I just wanted to check on you." "I appreciate that, really." The second I hung up, I sat there in the garage holding a screwdriver and understood what was really happening. Alice wasn't just leaving. She was setting me up to take the fall. 4 days later, I got a notification on my phone while sitting in my car outside the grocery store. A credit check alert. Someone tried to open a $25,000 credit line using my name, but the email on the application wasn't mine. It was alissmiles.financials followed by a service I'd never heard of. I stared at that message for a solid minute, gripping the steering wheel. The application had my social security number, our address, my job information. Everything matched except the email. An email I'd never made, never used, never approved. Alice wasn't just hiding something. She was stealing my identity to pay for it. I didn't go into the store. I sat in that car for 20 minutes trying to find one explanation that would make sense. There wasn't one. When I got home, Alice was in the kitchen making tea, humming under her breath. She looked up when I walked in and smiled. "Did you grab the bread?" I'd completely forgotten about the bread, forgotten why I even went to the store. "They didn't have any," I lied. "No worries. I'll get some tomorrow." She went back to her tea like nothing happened, like she hadn't just tried to open credit in my name with a fake email. I didn't say anything, because 2 days later, I found something worse. After the credit inquiry, I started searching everything: emails, cloud storage, file archives. That's when I found the rental confirmation Alice had saved, but archived in a folder labeled Wedding Vendor Receipts, a storage unit, paid for with an account I didn't know existed. And when I opened that unit, I realized Alice's plan was even bigger than I thought. The storage place was in a town I'd never heard Alice mention, Monroe Hills, 43 minutes from our house. I drove out there on a Thursday morning, told my office I had a client meeting. Alice thought I was at work. She texted me around 10 asking if I wanted her to pick up dinner. I said sure. The whole time I was standing in front of a metal roll-up door, punching in a code that would either prove I was losing my mind or confirm my worst fear. The lock clicked. I lifted the door. Inside wasn't wedding decorations. It wasn't old furniture or boxes of holiday lights. It was a second life. A metal filing cabinet sat against the left wall. I opened the top drawer. Inside were printed bank statements, organized by month in labeled folders. The account holder's name read Alice Brennan, her maiden name. I pulled out the most recent statement. Balance, $43,200. Deposits going back 14 months. 300 here, 500 there, 800. The amounts changed, but the pattern didn't. Money moved in small chunks, always under $1,000, always on different days of the week. Small enough that I wouldn't notice month to month. Big enough that over time, it added up to more than most people make in a year. I set the statement down and opened the second drawer. More folders. Receipts for things I'd never seen. A gym membership at a place 30 miles away. Dinners at restaurants Alice never mentioned. A weekend hotel stay in April she'd told me she was visiting her sister in Delaware that weekend. The third drawer had something worse. Legal papers. A drafted divorce filing. Not submitted yet, but filled out, dated, ready to go. Alice was listed as the petitioner. The grounds: irreconcilable differences and emotional neglect. Emotional neglect? Like I was the one who'd checked out. I took photos of everything with my phone. Then I moved to the laptop sitting on a small folding table in the corner. It was closed but not locked. I opened it. The screen lit up immediately. Alice hadn't even bothered with a password on this one. The browser was still logged into an email account, the same one from the credit inquiry. I scrolled through the inbox. Most of it was bank alerts, payment confirmations, subscription renewals. Then I saw a name that appeared over and over: Todd Harrison. I clicked the first message thread, Alice to Todd, 9 months earlier. I talked to the attorney, As long as I document everything and move the money before filing, he won't have grounds to challenge the split. He's too focused on work to notice. Todd to Alice. You're sure he won't check the accounts? Alice to Todd. Andrew's cautious, not paranoid. He trusts me. That's the advantage. I sat back in the metal folding chair and stared at those words. He trusts me. That's the advantage. I scrolled further. The messages went back over a year. At first, they were careful, talking about financial planning and asset protection, like they were discussing a business deal. Then, around 10 months ago, the tone shifted. Alice to Todd. Once we move the funds offshore, he won't even know where to look. His name won't be anywhere near it. Todd to Alice. What about the wedding? You really want to do it there? Alice to Todd. It's perfect. Everyone will be watching. He'll be humiliated. And by the time he recovers enough to think clearly, the papers will be filed and the money will be gone. I read that message 3 times. She wasn't just planning to leave me. She was planning to destroy me in front of our son, our family, our friends, and use Jace's wedding as the stage. I kept scrolling. Found an attachment from 2 months ago. An LLC registration form. Company name, Milestone Consulting Group. Owners, Alice Brennan, Todd Harrison. Todd wasn't just some guy from a networking event. He was her partner, in business, and based on these emails, in everything else too. I took pictures of everything. The emails, the LLC registration, the bank statements. Then I closed the laptop, locked the storage unit, and sat in my car for 10 minutes trying to breathe normally. My phone buzzed. A text from Alice. Picking up salmon for dinner. Home by 6. Love you. I didn't respond. Instead, I called David. We'd worked together 5 years ago on a corporate fraud case. He was the forensic accountant who tracked down $2 million a CFO had been moving through shell companies. If anyone could make sense of what Alice was doing, it was David. Andrew, it's been a while. What's going on? I didn't sugarcoat it. I think my wife is stealing from me, and I need you to prove it. David didn't ask if I was sure, didn't tell me I was overreacting. He just said, send me everything you have. I forwarded him the photos, all of them, bank statements, emails, LLC documents, the drafted divorce papers. 72 hours later, David called me back. Andrew, sit down. I was already sitting, in my car. In the parking lot of a coffee shop 3 blocks from my office because I couldn't risk Alice overhearing this at home. How bad is it? Worse than you think, David said. The $43,000 in her account? It came from your joint accounts. She's been moving money in small transfers for 14 months. 300 here, 500 there, amounts small enough that your bank's fraud detection wouldn't flag it. Can you prove it? Already did. I pulled the transfer records. Every deposit into her account matches a withdrawal from yours, down to the day and time. My hands gripped the steering wheel. There's more, David continued. That LLC, Milestone Consulting Group, it's been billing your wedding vendors. What? Your florist invoiced you $4,200, right? Yeah. Alice's LLC paid the florist $2,800. The difference went straight into the LLC account. She did the same thing with the caterer, the photographer, and the venue coordinator. 4 vendors. Total skimmed. $6,300. I couldn't speak. Andrew, your wife has been using your son's wedding to fund her exit plan. I sat there, phone pressed to my ear, watching people walk in and out of the coffee shop like the world was still normal. What do you want to do? David asked. I need you to help me build a video, I said. A video? Something that shows everything, the accounts, the transfers, the LLC, the emails, all of it. 90 seconds, clean, undeniable. David was quiet for a moment. Then, "When do you need it?" "1 week. The wedding's in a week." "I'll have it ready." I hung up and sat in that parking lot until the sun started setting. Then I drove home, walked inside, and ate salmon with my wife while she talked about seating charts and toast schedules. And the entire time, I knew exactly what was coming. If you are enjoying this story, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. The wedding venue Alice picked had a projection screen. A big one, mounted behind the DJ booth, the kind you'd see at corporate conferences or fancy anniversary parties. Alice chose it specifically. She told the venue coordinator she wanted the dinner to feel elegant, like a real event. She spent 20 minutes on the phone making sure it could display videos and photos at high resolution. At the time, I thought she just wanted everything perfect for Jace. Now I understand. Alice needed that screen. She needed the venue to look flawless, needed the family photos displayed during cocktail hour, needed everything to scream perfect family right before she burned it all down. What she didn't know was that I needed that screen too. 2 days after my call with David, I met with Kyle, the DJ Alice had hired. Young guy, maybe 26, ran his own entertainment company. Alice had interviewed 3 DJs before choosing him because he understood the vision. I called Kyle and asked if we could meet for coffee. Told him I wanted to discuss a surprise. "Mr. Miles, yeah, absolutely. What kind of surprise are we talking about?" "A father of the groom video. Something emotional for Jace. A tribute with old photos, maybe some messages from family. I want it to play during the toasts." Kyle's face lit up. "Oh man, that's perfect. Those always hit. You want me to build it, or you handling production?" "I'll handle it. Just need 10 minutes on your timeline right after Alice's toast. Can you make that work?" "Absolutely. Just bring it on a USB drive day of, and I'll queue it up whenever you give me the signal." "Perfect." Kyle paused. "Does Alice know about this?" "She approved it already," I lied. Kyle nodded, typing notes into his phone. "Then we're locked in. After her toast. I'll make sure the screen's ready." We shook hands. He had no idea what he'd just agreed to help me do. David sent me the video 3 days before the wedding. The night before the wedding, I sat in my car outside the venue. The USB drive was in my hand. Small, light. Barely weighed anything. But I knew what was on it would destroy everything. My finger hovered over my phone. I could text David right now. Tell him to forget it. Delete the video. File for divorce quietly like a normal person and let the lawyers handle it. What if I was wrong? What if there was something I missed? Some explanation that made sense of all of this? What if I humiliated Alice in front of everyone, in front of our son on his wedding day, and it turned out I'd misunderstood? But it is better to be prepared if it is true. The night before our son's wedding, she was still taking money. I put the USB drive in my jacket pocket, got out of the car, and walked inside. The wedding day itself felt strange, unreal. The ceremony was beautiful. Jace and Sophia looked happy, standing under the flower arch Alice had spent weeks coordinating. Alice cried during the vows, real tears, dabbing her eyes with a tissue, looking every bit the proud mother. I stood next to her and felt nothing. At the reception dinner, I watched her work the room during cocktail hour, hugging guests, laughing at jokes, touching shoulders and complimenting dresses. She glowed. Everyone loved her. Then I saw him, Todd Brennan, sitting 2 tables away with a group Alice had introduced as friends from her networking events. He was younger than I expected. Mid-30s, maybe. Dressed well. Confident smile. He caught my eye once across the room. I looked away quickly. He knew who I was. And he was here, watching, waiting for Alice to make her move so they could celebrate later. Dinner was served. Salmon, roasted vegetables, garlic mashed potatoes. People ate and talked and clinked glasses. The DJ played quiet background music. Then Kyle announced that toasts would begin. Jace went first, thanked everyone for coming, talked about how lucky he felt to marry Sophia, made a joke about his dad teaching him to change a tire when he was 12. People laughed. I smiled. My brother went next, told an embarrassing story about Jace as a kid, got more laughs, raised his glass. Then Alice stood. She smoothed her dress, picked up her champagne glass, and looked around the room. 40 faces turned toward her, and I reached into my jacket pocket and wrapped my fingers around the remote. Alice stood there with her champagne glass raised, looking around the room like she was about to deliver a toast everyone would remember. She was right, just not the way she planned. I've spent 28 years building a life with Andrew, she began, her voice clear and steady. I gave everything to this family. I planned every birthday, every holiday, every moment that mattered. She paused. Let the words sit. A few people nodded. But somewhere along the way, I lost myself. Her voice cracked slightly, perfectly timed, perfectly practiced. And recently, I found someone who reminded me what it feels like to be valued, to be seen. The gasps started. Quiet at first, then louder. Forks stopped moving. Glasses froze halfway, to their mouths. Jace's face went completely white. Sophia grabbed his hand under the table, her knuckles going pale. My brother turned to look at me, his mouth open, but I kept my eyes on Alice. Andrew, I'm leaving you. She looked directly at me now, tears starting to form in her eyes. I know this isn't the time most people would choose, but I wanted our son to hear it from me. Here, surrounded by people who love him. She took a breath, let a single tear roll down her cheek. This isn't about blame. It's about finally choosing myself. She sat down. The room erupted, whispers, shocked faces, someone's chair scraping against the floor. Jace looked like someone had punched him in the stomach. He turned to me, his eyes wide, waiting for me to react, to say something, to fall apart. I stood up slowly. The whispers stopped. Everyone turned. Alice, I said, keeping my voice level, I respect that you wanted witnesses. I pulled the remote from my jacket pocket. So do I. Alice's eyes locked onto the remote. Her face changed, just for a split second. Confusion replaced the tears. I looked around the room at the people staring at me. I prepared something for tonight, too. A gift. But it's not for Jace. I raised the remote toward the projection screen behind the DJ booth. It's for everyone here who deserves the truth. I pressed play. The screen flickered on. People turned in their seats to see. For the first 10 seconds, there was just confusion. 2 bank statements appeared side by side, numbers highlighted in yellow. Someone at table 3 leaned toward their spouse and whispered, "What is that?" Then they started reading. I watched Alice. Her hand squeezed her champagne glass so tight I thought it might shatter. She was staring at the screen, her smile frozen on her face like a mask that didn't fit anymore. The hotel receipt appeared next. Riverside Inn. Wednesday, 2:47 p.m. Below it, Alice's text message. Stuck in traffic, running late, be home by 5. Alice breathed heavily. Then she whispered, "Turn it off." Nobody moved. Everyone was watching the screen. The LLC documents came up next. Milestone Consulting Group. Owners, Alice Brennan, Todd Harrison. The room shifted. 40 heads turned away from the screen and toward Todd, sitting 2 tables away. He pushed his chair back slightly, like he was getting ready to run. A woman at table 5 said, "Wait, Todd's involved in this?" The vendor invoices appeared. Our florist bill, $4,200. Payment from Milestone Consulting to the florist, $2,800. Difference highlighted in red, 1400. My brother leaned forward, squinting at the screen. She stole from the wedding? Jace was staring at his mother, his jaw locked, his hands flat on the table. The credit inquiry screenshot filled the screen next. Application for $25,000 credit line. Name, Andrew Miles. Email, alicemiles.financials. Someone gasped. Alice's sister put her hand over her mouth. Then the text messages appeared. Alice to Todd. Once the dinner's over and I make the announcement, we move everything offshore. He won't even know where to look. Alice shot to her feet. Her chair tipped backward and hit the floor with a loud crack. Turn it off! Her voice broke. No longer controlled, no longer perfect. Turn it off right now. She started moving toward the DJ booth, but my brother stood up and stepped into her path. Let it finish, Alice, he said quietly. The final message appeared on screen. Todd to Alice. You're sure he won't suspect before the wedding? Alice to Todd. He's too distracted, and even if he does, everyone will side with me. I've already set that up. The screen faded to black. White text appeared. Alice, you said I didn't see you. I saw everything. Then nothing. Just silence. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. The only sound was Alice's breathing, fast and shallow. Then Todd stood up. He didn't look at Alice, didn't look at anyone, just grabbed his jacket from the back of his chair and walked toward the exit. Alice's head snapped toward him. Todd, wait. He kept walking. Todd! She ran after him, her voice climbing higher. We had a plan. You can't just... He pushed through the door and disappeared into the parking lot. Alice stood there in the middle of the reception hall, mascara starting to run, her perfect composure completely shattered. She turned back to the room, looked at her sister, her friends, the guests who'd loved her 5 minutes ago. Nobody would meet her eyes. Then Jace stood. His chair scraped loudly against the floor. His voice shook when he spoke. Mom, what the hell is this? Alice spun toward him, reaching out like she could fix it with a touch. Jace, sweetheart, you don't understand the full story. Your father... I just watched the full story. Jace cut her off. We all did. No, you saw what he wanted you to see. He edited it to make me look. Make you look like what? Jace's voice cracked. Like you stole $40,000? Like you used my wedding to steal more? Like you planned this whole thing for a year? Alice's mouth opened, but nothing came out. She looked around the room one more time, searching for someone, anyone, who would defend her. Her sister looked down at her plate. Her friends were whispering to each other. The guests were silent. Alice's face twisted into something I'd never seen before. Not sadness, not shame, rage. She turned to me, her eyes locked on mine, her voice low and shaking. You just destroyed everything. I didn't move, didn't raise my voice. No, Alice, you did. I just made sure everyone saw it. She stood there for another 5 seconds, breathing hard, tears and mascara running down her face. Then she grabbed her purse from the table and walked out. 3 people, including my brother, pulled out their phones and followed her into the parking lot. I found out later they recorded what happened next. And what Alice said in that parking lot made everything even worse. My brother sent me the parking lot video 2 hours later. I was still at the venue, sitting with Jace and Sophia in a quiet corner while the guests slowly left. Some stopped to shake my hand. Others just nodded and walked out, not knowing what to say. I opened the video my brother sent. Alice had chased Todd into the parking lot. The phone camera was shaky, but the audio was clear. We had a plan, Alice was screaming, following Todd toward his car. You said we'd be fine. You promised me. Todd stopped walking and turned around. His voice was cold. "That was before you got caught, Alice. I'm not going to prison for fraud." "You're just going to leave? After everything?" Todd actually laughed. Not a nervous laugh, a real one. "You think I loved you?" he said. "Alice, this was about money. That's it. And now there is no money, so there's no us. But you said, I said what you wanted to hear so you'd keep stealing from your husband. You did all the work. I just waited for the payoff." Alice's voice broke. "You're just like him. You never saw me either." "Oh, I saw you perfectly," Todd said, opening his car door. "I saw a woman willing to destroy her own family for cash. That's exactly who I needed." He got in his car and drove away. Alice stood there in the parking lot, alone, her dress wrinkled, her makeup ruined, crying in front of 3 people recording her with their phones. The affair collapsed in under 2 minutes. Because it was never about love. It was always about greed. I filed for divorce the following Monday. David's forensic report was attached. 47 pages documenting every fraudulent transfer, every double-billed vendor, every piece of identity theft. Alice's attorney called mine 3 days later trying to negotiate. "My client is willing to return the funds and walk away with nothing. Let's settle this quietly." My attorney responded, "Your client committed fraud for 14 months. There's no quiet settlement." Alice walked away with her personal belongings, her car, and $4,100 from a checking account that was legally hers alone. That was it. 28 years of marriage. Gone. Jace didn't speak to Alice for 2 months. When they finally met for coffee, she tried to explain herself. Jace stopped her halfway through. "Mom, I don't need to hear why you did it. I need to know if you even thought about what it would do to me." Alice cried. But crying doesn't rebuild trust. Jace and I started meeting for breakfast every week. One morning, he apologized for believing Alice's version of me, the angry, distant husband she'd described. "Don't apologize," I told him. "She's your mother. You loved her. That's not wrong." Our relationship now is stronger than it's ever been. People ask me if I regret how I handled it, if I should have kept it private, if I went too far. But here's what they don't understand. Alice didn't make a mistake. She built a plan. She spent 2 years setting me up to lose everything, my money, my reputation, my son's respect, and she was going to smile while it happened. I didn't ruin my son's wedding. I stopped my son from spending his life believing his father was the villain. Sometimes protecting yourself isn't about being kind. It's about being smarter than the person trying to destroy you. Alice wanted a performance. I just made sure the right story got told. If you've ever had to protect yourself from someone you trusted, drop a comment below and tell me what you would have done. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We bring you revenge stories like this every day.